Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam. I am a licensed cosmetologist, and today I'm going to show you how I'm going to be touching up my hair color. So let me let this down so you can see what we're working with. So I got my hair lightened about 2 months ago, and we did leave my natural root out to begin with. But now at this point, it's just been growing even more. So there's just a little bit more root right now than I would like. So I'm gonna show you how I do that, how I bring up the blonde, how I tone everything. I'm gonna do a bit of a shadow root. Now, just a little disclaimer, if you are not a professional and you do not know what you're doing, proceed with caution. Color your hair at your own risk. I am going to be using bleach today, and that can be very damaging if you don't know what you're doing. So anyway, let's just get started. I am just going to brush through my hair and make sure there are no tangles first and foremost. My hair's a little bit dirty. It's been a few days since I washed it, which is actually perfect since I'm going to be bleaching it. So I'm going to take a comb and I'm going to part my hair down the middle. That is usually where I like to wear it most often. If you wear it in one particular part all the time, part it there. If you like to change your part up, part it down the middle. That way it will always look even no matter which way you choose to part it. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take a mohawk section. So I'm gonna go from about the middle of my eye back. So like that, and then same thing on the other side, all the way back. There we go. So parting here, parting here. This is gonna be my one section. Now, if you always part your hair to one particular side and you're not working off of a middle part, then part it wherever you normally part it, and then take your mohawk section around that part. The idea is that wherever you normally part your hair, that should be in the middle of your mohawk section. So if I had a side part, my mohawk section would be more like this, if that makes sense. But since I flip my part around, I am working off of a middle section. And then I'm going to start at the back of that mohawk section, and I'm gonna come down and make a triangle and connect it to like the front of my ear, like that. Same thing on this side. Make sure that everything looks pretty even. So these three sections in the front are going to be the only thing that I'm going to be highlighting. The rest of this in the back I am going to pull away. And all of this, even though this definitely could be highlighted at this point, I'm gonna wait and leave that. Obviously I can't see the back of my head very well, and since my hair is short, I can't really like pull it up to the front and work on it that way. So whenever I need like a full entire head touch up, I'm gonna wait and have my boss do it for me at the salon. But in the meantime, at home, these little quick like in between touch ups just around my face where you can see my hair the most, that I can do myself. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to put on my little smock just so I don't get any color on myself. Okay, so for our bleach, I'm going to be using the Wella Blondor Lightening Powder, and I'm gonna mix that with 10 volume. I like to use a very low developer because I'd rather be more gentle and just let it sit longer if necessary than to just blast my hair with a really high volume developer. And I usually don't weigh out my lightening powder. I just like to go based off of the consistency of it. But if you are gonna be measuring, I would say it's probably gonna be like a 1 to 2 or 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio, but it's really just personal preference. I'll show you guys the consistency that I like to use. This is the consistency that I like. Not too thick, not too runny, like the consistency of conditioner kind of. So I am going to start with this mohawk section. This is obviously going to be the piece like when I part my hair, right? Everything's gonna lay down like this. So this is going to be like that top veil. It's gonna be what everybody sees the most of because it's right in the front and right on top. So I want that to process the longest, so that way that'll be the brightest. So I'm actually gonna start in the back, because if I start from the front and I have those foils falling down in front of my face, it's gonna be harder for me to see. So this is the first piece that I'm starting with. So you can see the blonde isn't until like all the way at the end. So I'm just gonna bring that up a little bit higher. So I am going to weave that section. That's gonna help diffuse it a little bit more. And then I'm gonna grab some foils. I have these ones from the Salon Care brand. You can get these at any beauty supply store, or you can just use some regular old foil that you have in your kitchen. That works too. I just like this because it already comes like pre-cut in the right kind of pieces that I need. So I'm gonna pull this down over the top of my head so that I can see it a little bit better. And then I'm just gonna start painting. And you can see when I get to the pieces that are lightened already, I'm just gonna kind of feather down. I don't want to overlap that too much. And then up top I'm gonna feather as well. And I'm just gonna fold that up and just flip it back out of the way. And I'm making sure that the pieces that I'm grabbing aren't too thick. You wanna be able to kind of see through it. So I'm pulling up a section and then I'm going to weave that. For extra help blending, what you can also do is take your comb and back comb and tease that section. That'll help to diffuse your lines as well. So I'm doing 2 weave sections, then taking a third section, leaving that out completely. And then I'm going to take another section and weave that. And then the third piece, I'm just going to pull back and skip that piece. So every third piece, you're just gonna leave out. That's gonna help us keep some dimension, and dimension is good. In order for the light pieces to really pop and look super light, they need some dark hair behind them, so they have something to contrast against. So that's why we're leaving a few pieces out here and there.
Riding low and flying high, we can reach the morning light. Come on, baby, you should take my hand. I got bottles, I got blues, roll the dice, you'll never lose.
And you can see I start kind of in the middle of the piece, and then I brush upwards to feather it up. That way I'm not creating any harsh lines, and it's gonna have a really nice blend. And you also wanna make sure that you are really saturating your piece as well, because if you're not, then you're not gonna get enough lift, and the hair's not gonna get light enough, and it's gonna be stuck in a really ugly, orangey, brassy phase, and we don't want that. Okay, so now at this point, this is all of the hair that I'm left with in the very front. I'm gonna section that down the middle just to see what it's gonna look like when it just lays normal. And I do want a money piece, so I want the blonde to come up pretty high, just right around my face. I want like a brighter pop just right in the front. So even though I only did 1 weave piece and we were doing 2 weaves, leave 1 out, 2 weaves, leave 1 out, I'm not gonna leave any of this out. I'm actually just gonna back to back foil all of this hair. And depending on how strong I want the money piece to be, I could weave these pieces, or I could just slice them and just paint all of it. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just paint all of it. And these pieces, I'm actually going to bring up all the way to the root pretty much. Okay, so then all of these mohawk pieces, I'm just gonna kind of bend the foils a little bit so that they're out of the way. So then with these pieces here, I'm gonna just work at a diagonal. So I'm gonna be going this way. And again, I'm gonna start with the back so that it's easier for me to see what I'm doing. And the first piece, actually, I'm just gonna leave out. Another reason why I like to use low volume developer is because when you're doing this, it can be a little time consuming. It's tricky doing this on yourself because you can't really see too well. So using a lower volume gives you some extra time. You don't have to feel rushed and worried that the hair is going to over process or that you have to wash your section out before you finish the rest. So same thing here, we're gonna do 2 back-to-back weaves, leave a piece out. And you'll notice I'm not worrying about making every piece perfect. Like, your weaves don't have to all be identical. The whole purpose of like this lived in blended color is that it isn't perfect. It's supposed to look more natural and effortless. If every single piece that I did was like absolutely perfectly even and symmetrical, then it would look very superficial. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not the look that I am going for. So now that I'm done with all these pieces, I look insane. So I'm gonna let this sit and process. I'm going to check on the foils every 10 minutes or so just to see how everything is looking. And then as soon as it starts looking like a nice light yellow color, I will be right back and I'll show you what the next step is gonna be. So be back in a few. Hair that has not been toned yet is not cute. So from here, again, you wanna part it wherever you usually part it. If you always wear it to one side in particular, part it there. If you flip it around, just part it in the middle. So that is what I'm doing. Going down the middle. So for my toners, I am going to be using Redken Shades EQ. So on top, I'm gonna do a shadow root. I want to richen and deepen my natural color on top because my natural is like just this very ashy, like dull, kind of blah color, and I just don't like the way that it looks next to lighter pieces. So I just want to deepen it up, richen it up a little bit, so that way everything else will pop a little bit more. So I'm going to use 4N for that, and because we are applying it on wet hair and it's a demi-permanent color, it's not going to be super opaque. It's not going to really come out like a true level 4. It's probably going to look more like a level 5-ish. And again, it's going to fade over time. And then everywhere else where I have the lighter pieces, I am going to be mixing 8V with 7N, equal parts of those two. And I'm going to mix them with equal parts of the Shades EQ processing solution. So before I just start slapping this on, I am actually going to section away these front pieces, because I want to keep it nice and bright up front around my face, so I don't want to put any of the shadow root up front. So this is just going to help me stay neat and organized. Okay, and then I am just going to apply this right up at the root, and I'm just putting it mostly on my natural color and then just ever so slightly bringing it down a little bit to where those highlights start, so that it'll kind of soften any lines there, and it'll give me a really nice transition area. So whenever you're doing your shadow root, you always want to apply it on wet or damp hair. You always want to use a demi-permanent color with low developer. So then I'm taking a wide tooth comb and I am just brushing that through so that we don't have any lines and everything blends really nicely. Okay, so now that that's on there, I'm going to mix up my second toner. So like I said, I'm going to do equal parts of 8V with 7N. And then this color is just going to go from mid-strand to the ends. And I'm bringing it right up to that root shadow color, and I'm just blending the two together with my fingers. That's going to create a nice like buffer zone. And make sure you're really going section by section and you are fully saturating everything. You don't want to miss any pieces. All right, and I am going to let that process for 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'm going to rinse it out, not shampoo it or anything, and I'll show you the finished hair. Oh, and I might give myself a haircut too, because I'm due for a trim. Hello, it's a few days later. I wanted to show you my finished hair, and if you couldn't tell, I got a haircut. My coworker cut it for me yesterday. I didn't really need to take this much off. I just have been trying to trim my hair like once every month, and the front was looking a little bit shorter than the back, and I wanted to just like even it out and make it all one length. So that's what we did. And before you ask what kind of haircut this is, what to ask your hairstylist, it's literally just a solid, blunt, all one length haircut. I have no layers. It's literally the same length from the front to the back. Anyway, so the color, this is the final result. So you can see even parted all the way to the side with this extreme side part, you can still see the lighter pieces up around my face. Even when I go to pull my hair back, you can see them. And then when I part my hair down the middle, you can see that money piece. And you can see my roots, that shadow root just kind of richened up my color a little bit more. So my roots aren't as ashy and dull. Sometimes I feel like my natural color can look a little bit gray in certain lighting because it's that ashy, and you can see the lighter pieces, they don't come all the way up to the top. There's a really nice gradual blend. So this area right here will brighten up more as the toner starts to fade, which will be nice because as my hair starts to grow out, these pieces over here, as they move down here, they're just gonna brighten up more and more, so I won't have to touch up my hair as frequently. So shadow roots are great for making your color more low maintenance as well. So yeah, that is the finished hair. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and learned something from it. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more hair tutorials like this one, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye!